Hi. Um, I made this video, or I'm making this video because I want to make a roster for the rumored upcoming Injustice 3 game. And, yeah, I don't know. I made this at like 4 a.m. last night, and I'm finishing it up now. So let's see how good it is. Probably not, but let's find out. Alright. First off, the roster size, I went with 30 total for the base game and 10 DLC characters. It's two more than Injustice 2 had. Um, I went with that just because I think it's a little bit more fun. Some of these could be cut, and I would agree with cutting them, but we're having fun here. I don't actually have any authority over this, so I get to make the rules. All right, first off, the easy picks: Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. It's the DC Big Three. You got to have them. They're probably not going to change very much gameplay wise from the other ones. Hopefully, they get like new animations and new moves and stuff like that. But generally speaking, it's probably going to be pretty similar. I can't imagine that NRS is going to do much different. But hey, we'll see. Maybe. All right. The easy picks villains. Lex Luthor, obvious. I'm going to be honest, I don't really much care for Joker, so I'm putting Bane there. I have a Bane bias. I want Bane as Batman's main bad guy in this game. He's smarter than Joker. He's got cooler shit. He offers the ability to be like a grappler character. I think that's neat. And then we got Cersei for Wonder Woman. I'll be honest, I don't really know much about her. I just think she's cool. She showed up in the not Suicide Squad, Creature Commandos. She's sick, and she's a Wonder Woman villain. And unfortunately, a lot of Wonder Woman villains are not necessarily the most well advertised or like fleshed out from what I've seen. Also, I haven't read a ton, so it's also fair. All right, we got Wally West Flash, Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern, and Martian Manhunter. I didn't put Hal Jordan or John Stewart because we've seen them both. I refrained from putting Guy Gardner because I don't think anyone would actually like him as the primary Green Lantern in this game, but I think Kyle Rayner would be interesting. I would also like to see Jessica Cruz. I think that would be cool. I think that would be neat. And I went with Wally West Flash because everyone says that all the best stuff that you see for Barry Allen is actually just Wally West stuff. So I trust their opinions. Martian Manhunter is just cool. He's like the DC Piccolo in more than just being green. He's just dope. All right. Now we got a couple of weird ones. We got Ultra Humanite, who, again, I don't really know a ton about like comic stuff, but I liked him in the Justice League cartoon, and that's going to be kind of a reoccurring theme here. He's just cool. He's like Gorilla Grodd, sort of, in the fact that he's like a gorilla, but he's super smart. I think he'd be cool. I think he'd be a neat kind of deep cut pick. We got Sinestro coming back. I'll be honest, I don't know a ton of Green Lantern villains. It was between him and Atrocitus was in the last one, so I figure he can just sit out. Then we got Parasite, who is a Superman villain, I think, mostly. Who looks cool, has some opportunities to do some cool shit. I'd be down to see these characters. I would like to see them. Alright, we got John Constantine, Booster Gold, and Mr. Terrific. I know John Constantine was a big want for a lot of people for a long time, and I think he could make it in. I have like a rough idea of what I think like the story would be, and it's just kind of a bigger scale, like kind of universal sized event for Injustice 3 for the story. That's why all these characters are a little bit larger than like the last ones. You're not going to see many like street level characters like Joker, Harley Quinn, or like Robin, or whatever. Batman's a street level, but he also has to, he's got to be there. Fortunately and unfortunately for whoever it may be that you're asking. All right, we got Lobo. Forgot I used the Lego Clayface. Lobo, Clayface, and Livewire. Again, I think some characters that either should be in here or should get a better shot. I think Lobo would be cool to see in like the main story as like a recurring side character that kind of pops in and like messes stuff up. Also, I just have a Lobo bias. Love that guy. All right, we got Deadman, not Mr. Terrific, Mr. Miracle. and Cassandra Cain. Awesome, interesting picks. I don't think I've seen anyone mention Deadman as like a potential fighter. I think it would be sick as hell to see him. I think Mr. Miracle would also be cool, especially with some of the characters that I have coming up. I think he would fit in well. And I think he should be shown off a little bit more because I think he's really interesting. I think he's really neat. And also Cassandra Cain is cool. And if you're going to have multiple of the Bat family, which generally you're probably going to have in an Injustice game, choose one that's cool. Cassandra Cain is cool. All right, we got Mongol, Doomsday, and Trigon. Now, Doomsday has already been there, and I think he's cool to have. He kind of works as like another bruiser, grappler type character, which I like those. And in a superhero game, I'd much prefer to have those than like a Deadshot or like a Deathstroke or something. People with guns, which is actually going to be ironic given like one of the upcoming picks. Mongol, same kind of idea, another bruiser, grappler type. Maybe has like some trap setups or something. I'm not sure. I'm not very good at fighting games. Trigon would be cool as hell. I hear that a lot of people say that he's kind of like a basic bitch in the comics or something. I haven't read them. I can't say whether or not that's the case, but I think he'd be sick, especially given like the Teen Titans nostalgia. Because I think everyone falls for nostalgia. Speaking of which, Raven, Beast Boy, and Power Girl. Power Girl was a skin in the last game. I think she's cool enough to be her own character. I think she's actually got a lot more interesting stuff going on than Supergirl, more so in like the Injustice universe, which, I'll be honest, I don't really like the story, but whatever. Raven gets to come back, hopefully this time. She doesn't look and sound very weird. And Beast Boy gets to come back. Also a very heavily requested character. That would be super cool to see. So fingers crossed. All right, we got Darkseid, Granny Goodness, and the Anti-Monitor. These are definitely like the higher tiers of what the hell is going on. What was Jack Kirby smoking? These would be kind of like your main bad guys. More so the Anti-Monitor, and then like Darkseid, because you can do Brainiac. Brainiac is kind of like that mid-level, like endgame kind of villain for the story, so it makes sense. I don't know if you can really go much higher than the Anti-Monitor, but I think it'd be cool to see. I think of him more of as like a boss character than anything else. All right, on to the DLCs. First off, we have 5 of each DC and then guest characters, because in a fighting game, especially another Realm game, you gotta have guests. But for DC, I'm going with Etrigan, who is cool as hell. He's really funny. He's really sick. He's got a lot of cool potential. I think of him in terms of like game plan, kind of like Marvel vs. Infinite Wolverine. Just real small, real like maybe like mix-up heavy. Just a crazy speed demon with a sword. Then we got Huntress, who I think would be cool. I think she was also a requested character. Not sure necessarily what her game plan would be, but I'm sure someone who actually makes fighting games could tell or come up with an idea. And we got Grifter, who also kind of a biased pick. I just think he's cool. I haven't really read any of the Wildcats comics. I don't really know much about him. I know that he's got like very light or mild like telekinesis and like stuff like that, which I think is cool. Also, he just looks sick. Put him in there. You're already going to have characters with guns. I'm sure you will. You're another realm. You can't help yourselves. Then we got Plastic Man, who I think would be another very, very requested character. And especially since he showed up in like a very prominent role in the Injustice like animated movie. Which is ass, by the way. It's not good. You kill the Flash in the first like 2 seconds and never speak about him. It's insane. Then we got Starro, who, I'll be honest, I think is kind of a weird pick, and I get it. I don't think it would be directly Starro. I think the idea would be that he's controlling a bunch of different heroes, and then they get to make like cameos as like moves. And that's kind of the way that I see it, where it's like, oh, he's got a bunch of characters that like didn't make the cut. He's got like Aquaman, he's got like Cyborg, he's got like Donna Troy or like Hawk and Dove or like Solomon Grundy. I don't know if Solomon Grundy can get Starroed. I don't know how that works. I don't know if you have to have a brain. I think he has a brain. He's a zombie. Doesn't matter. I think Starro would be cool. All right, and then on to the guests. I won't lie, I think I kind of cooked with this one. Invincible feels like an obvious choice. The popularity is crazy right now. He's never been more popular. And also he's a little bit closer to like a T for teen kind of character than Omni-Man is. Then we got Tank Girl. Again, I don't really know much about these comics. I haven't read them. I do want to read them. I always like the aesthetic. And I hear that she's kind of a niche darling kind of character. And that always makes me much more interested in a character. And we got Judge Dredd, who is also super sick. I've really only seen the movie, the not Stallone one. So I can't speak on, the comic stuff, but I think he's cool. I think he'd be a good fit. And again, he's just a guy with a gun for the most part, but you can do some cool stuff. Then you got Rorschach. Probably also another basic choice, but I'm sorry, he's cool. Give him a skin as like the Question, and then he can have interactions with like Huntress, and like Batman and everything. He can be a real funny like intro voice line machine. And then we got Shao Kahn. I was going to put Johnny Cage as like the Mortal Kombat rep for this game, and then I envisioned Batman getting punched in the cock, and I could not see that happening. So Shao Kahn it is. I think Shao Kahn fits. He's kind of got like enough of the iconography for Mortal Kombat to stay there. I'm not sure if there's really any more Mortal Kombat characters that have enough like recognition past Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and Raiden. But I think he's pretty close. But yeah, that's what I think would be a cool roster. Again, I don't really know anything about fighting games in terms of like high level play. I'm pretty bad at them. And I don't know a ton about DC like extended stuff and who would make like good interesting characters. But I don't know. I think it would be cool to see some of these guys. If not, that's also fine. Whatever. Thanks for watching. Bye.